Meeting to order.
Yeah, we'll call the meeting to order today at 4:05 and we will do a flag salute.
Okay. I pledge allegiance. So are you there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Shall I start? I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think I forgot the flag salute there for a minute. Oh.
All right. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the Beach Haven Municipal Building and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. Mr. Allen.
Here.
Mrs. Baumiller.
Here.
Mr. Lynch.
Here.
Mr. Maskell. Mayor Davis.
Here.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is Ordinance 2020-11C, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 212 zoning to include swimming pools and coping within the definition of building. This ordinance was introduced on May 11th and was referred to the Land Use Board for review. It did come back to the council with some significant changes. At this point, I think that 11C is not an ordinance that we're going to be considering any further. And we've been working with Bruce and with Jamie and Frank Little to try to work in some of the recommendations of the Land Use Board into a new draft ordinance that will become then Ordinance 15C. Some of the items that the Land Use Board suggested was that the pools be restricted to lots not smaller than 5,000 square feet. They suggested a 10 to 12 foot setback, the use of a temporary meter for dewatering, and that the pool equipment be housed. So we took a look. Some of these items we did work into the ordinance and some of them we didn't. Council, you should have received a draft today. And one in our discussions with Joanne Talon, our zoning officer, and Frank Little, it kind of opened up another issue with the impervious coverage. So we have a companion ordinance that we're working on right now also that discusses impervious coverage. Bruce, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna let you discuss what we're trying to do in these two ordinances. We'll start with the impervious coverage one.
Could I say something?
Yeah.
So I just read over both those ordinances, and the pool ordinance really doesn't make sense to you do the impervious covers ordinance first.
Right.
So if you really have to read the ordinance changing the impervious coverage, then the pool ordinance makes sense.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right. So the impervious one came at the recommendation of our zoning officer to just really talk about lot coverage and building lot coverage. So anytime the code said impervious, we really just changed that to say lot coverage or building lot coverage. And we also added in a definition of building coverage.
Okay.
So it was somewhat more complex because we didn't want to have any unintended consequence. So it's taking a little bit more effort than it seems that it should or that we anticipated. But we just want to make sure that, you know, when you change something like this, it could affect other parts of the code. So we just wanted to verify that.
Oh, so we're making the lot coverage a flat 60% with the requirement for 40% open space.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Correct.
Okay. In the ordinance, Bruce, under section 1 for A, I think that your definition of building coverage should be 12 inches in height. Are you seeing that one?
Yeah, I'm just writing it down. I have it printed out here. we could insert those words, Sherry.
Okay. And then Jamie, look at section E of the ordinance that addresses 212-9.
Right. I read what you, I read the that you put.
Do you agree?
I really want to have Frank weigh in on that, because in other towns that I was looking at real quick, it's still like the main principal building and an accessory building is included as a 35% in the lot coverage, because in a lot of other towns, they actually separate the definition of an accessory structure and an accessory use. And that because an accessory structure is a garage, and that should be included in the 35% with the principal building. That's why most places have the garage underneath, but except for the historical zone where they allow a little bit more square footage for the garage underneath. So I think it was real close. I don't know. I think I need to weigh in with Frank just on that one thing because of the garage.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand, because then that mean that there would really mean that it would be more building on the lot. You have 35% for the principal building, and then an additional building which could fall under into the 60%. So, 25% more building on the lot, whereas they couldn't before. So that kind of defeats my purpose of kind of, trying to curb some of this mass development that we're seeing.
So you would try to clump accessory structures with building coverage?
Accessory building.
Okay.
So I wanted to kind of weigh in with Frank to see if we should actually separate the actual accessory use and an accessory building, because a lot of other towns do that. They separate them, an accessory use versus an accessory building, and we clump them all together.
Okay. You're following that, Bruce?
Yeah, I think it's, okay. I do think it's a good idea to consult with Frank. He has a working now. I mean, we could write the words down and from the lawyer's point of view, I could write it down any way the council wants it. But Frank has a working knowledge of how this gets implemented for the borough, so his input is useful.
Yeah, I mean, just for the public's that they're made aware, when you're going through chapter 212, which is the zoning part of the code book, it is very interesting, to say the least, and it's very complex. There's a lot of older things in there that I found, like, how in the definition of a building, there's still things that we have to take a look of, like you can't have a wagon, wheels, anything wheeled on your lot. So it's really intense. So it takes a lot of time, and it's something that we definitely are not going to rush through. It's something that we need to kind of take a look at individually, all these definitions. So that's why we're kind of, backtracking after we, listen to everyone, listen to the land use board and the public, and trying to make this conclusive and correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd kind of like to weigh in with Frank on that, but everything else in the draft ordinance, I like the setbacks were increased. And
so to explain to the rest of the council, Jamie, let's start with, can you explain why we chose not to restrict pools to lots that are less than 5,000 square feet?
So this was we originally talked about that, I guess, kind of earlier this year, when we start to see, like I said previously, we've had, over 50 pools installed in the last 2 years. So we see some significant problems, and we don't want to tell people that they can't have it. So when you limit someone of a lot size of 5,000 square feet, we have a lot of lots that are 40 by 90. So it would be kind of discriminatory to someone with a smaller lot size saying that they can't have a pool whatsoever. In fact, they would just have to abide by, the current setbacks and the building lot coverage, the building in the lot coverage in order to do so. So that was a recommendation by the land use board. We did think about that previously, but we can't do that because that would kind of discriminate against people that have a smaller lot size, not giving them a chance to have that. So rather than do that, we decided, again, not to do that.
Okay, and then we also decided to go with a 10-foot side yard and an 8-foot rear yard setback, correct?
Right, right. So to have a pool installed, you can be 5 foot from your principal structure, so 5 foot from your house. So it's closer to your house. So you're taking on any type of noise would be closer to your own principal structure. And then an 8-foot rear setback, which is the setback that you have to have anyway in order in a lot. That is the setback, 8 feet. And to the rear would the side setback would be 10 feet, which increases from 5 feet. Originally, it was just 5 feet all around. So it does increase 3 feet from the rear and 5 feet on each side.
Now, Donna Marie just requested that we consider an 8-foot side yard on a corner lot. She thought that they might run into some problems making that 10-foot side yard setback work.
Well, I don't know, because it would still have 10 foot, because they have 2 sides and 2 fronts. So it would be like what we would think of the rear, that would be 10 feet. And then the one side would be 10 feet. And what we would think would be the other side would be actually up front. And that's where we would have to decide on that could be 8 feet, just like it would be. So it would be 10, 10, 8, just like any other lot would be. It's just that a corner lot is described differently.
Okay, so they could still, what she's asking for is already accommodated.
It just that's what I was talking to Bruce about, that you know, we might have to differentiate that, saying that in a corner lot, the front yard, the one front side, not the actual frontage of the house, would have an 8-foot setback.
Does that make sense, Bruce?
Yeah, so you mean the other front, not the front of the house, the other front has a...
Yes, that took me a long time to understand a corner lot.
Yeah.
They have no such thing as a rear in a corner lot.
Okay.
I didn't make I didn't make that up.
I didn't make that up.
No, that was insightful, actually, to catch that. So we want to amend that to put the 8 feet for the side, for the corner lot.
For corner lot.
Yeah, okay.
For the front.
Bruce, when you're looking at section 3 of the ordinance that addresses 212-17, where we talk about the pools and the setbacks and everything, the way it's written, it sounds like you're saying that even the pool needs to be enclosed on 3 sides. Just be careful the way that's written.
Okay, I'll make sure.
See that?
Clarified. It's the pool equipment.
Yes.
Yeah, not the pool.
So Nancy, that we did incorporate in here that the pool equipment, pool filters, pool heaters, and pool equipment shall be enclosed on at least 3 sides, shielding adjacent property, and they must maintain the 10-foot yard, 10-foot side yard setback.
I saw that, and that makes, I think for noise, I mean, I'd rather have it totally enclosed because I think it's kind of noisy. It's unfair to have neighbors listening to the constant
running. I think it has ventilation, though.
That's what we weren't sure of.
I mean, air conditioners are noisy. I mean, I hear the air conditioners at the Catholic Church all the time. They're noisy. So, you know, I guess what can you say? Anything we can do to help cut the noise. 3 sides is okay, I guess.
Yeah, no, we did look up. There are specific enclosures for pool equipment. This is not something that we're making up. There are specific enclosures.
I just want to make sure that the enclosure doesn't require too much clearance, that it becomes like this enormous box. So I guess we'll do a little more research and see what kind of circulation and ventilation clearances you need, and we'll go back to that. And the other part of this is the metering of dewatering into the sanitary sewer. We have not sat down and talked to the Sewerage Authority yet about how that's going to work. So the discussion hasn't even started yet. So that's still a work in progress. Any other questions about these 2 ordinances? They're still in the draft form and we're going to continue to work on them.
Yeah, just one thing I caught in the first ordinance about the definitions.
Yeah.
Where is it? Seems like it repeats itself. And,
I agree. For the purposes of calculating lot coverage?
Yep, lot coverage. Yeah, it the previous lot coverage is defined, you know, it's.
Yeah, where we combine the two definitions, it repeats itself a little bit.
Yeah, well, almost word for word. So.
Bruce, you see that?
I'll look at that. That definition came from Joanne, so I'll just make sure that she's okay with cleaning that up.
Yeah, it starts with for the purposes of calculating. It's exactly the same as
in there. Yeah, it starts at the second line and then at the end.
Yeah. Other than that, that's just semantic. I think everything else looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm happy with how quick.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're talking about, Dan. No.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else on this ordinance before we move on?
No, just moving forward for just the public's concern. I know that a few people spoke out about, you know, having a pool included as the definition of building. So just, you know, that 35% is still just for the building that you are constructing. So if you already have a home, the only thing moving forward that you would have to take into consideration would be new setbacks, not encroaching on your 35% of your principal structure.
Good. Okay. Ordinance 2020-12C, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 199, Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of the Borough of Beach Haven, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, to add Article 9, Snow Emergencies, Disabled Vehicles, Removal of Vehicles, and Article 16, Hazardous Conditions, to provide a mechanism for policing parked vehicles during a state of emergency and to prohibit obstructions in the roadway. First reading. Any questions from council on this ordinance 12C?
No, I have no. Let's vote.
Okay, our vote is to introduce it. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell? I see he's joined, but I don't see any audio.
Yeah, he is joined, but he's muted.
All right.
I
Mayor
saw him,
Davis?
he's muted.
Oh, Chuck, is that a yes?
Yes, a yes.
Thank you. Mayor Davis?
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-14 is the 2020 salary ordinance, which sets the annual base salary and wage ranges for the officers, employees of the Borough of Beach Haven. First reading.
First reading.
Any questions on that? Do I have a motion?
No.
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller?
We vote. I think we're.
Mrs. Baumiller?
Yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
Yes.
Mayor Davis?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
We only have one resolution on today. We did have some others, but those were removed. So for consideration today, there's only one resolution approving and executing a use of borough property agreement with the Community Arts Program. I'm really happy that Mary Claire has been working very hard with Rob and the Community Arts Program to find a way to get a free concert that's open to the public, during this COVID emergency. So it's been quite a chore, but we're doing it. I'm excited about that. It's Resolution 133, 2020. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
No.
I need a motion.
Motion to
Thanks, Jamie.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller?
yes.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
I presented the minutes to you guys for May 28th, 2020, an agenda meeting. Are there any issues with the minutes? If they're okay without formal reading, if I could have a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Thank you, Nancy. You're my second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We have a bill list tonight in the amount of $2,347,115.20. Any questions on the bills? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Thanks, Tom.
Second?
Thanks, Dan. Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller? Mrs.
Yes.
Baumiller? Thank you. Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Maskell?
I'm going to abstain.
Mayor Davis?
Yes.
All right, at this time, we will open the floor for public comment. Any member of the public that would like to speak on any topic, you can raise an electronic hand through Zoom and I can call on you at this time. 25 participants on the call right now.
I don't see any hands.
Are you closing the floor real quick?
I'll close the floor. I'm
Any
closing the
member of the
floor.
public? No? Wow, we might get home for dinner.
It's starting to rain.
All right, Nancy, we'll close the floor for the public comment and take final remarks from council.
Who wants to start?
Jamie.
Say my name. I'm sorry. I keep glitching in and out. And there's this fly
Yeah.
that's attacking me. I just wanted to thank you to everyone that's been patient and working through changing different ordinances through the zoning and the pool ordinance. I appreciate everybody's expertise and help. And I don't know if anyone can hear me because I'm still frozen.
We can hear you.
Hear you.
Oh.
Nope, can't hear you.
Definitely frozen.
Oh, so sorry. We're all like holding our breath.
You want to move
Yeah,
and come back to Jamie?
yeah, go ahead. All right, Tom.
Well, all I want to do is just thank everybody for all their cooperation. And I know that during this sensitive time, we've had some pros and cons and ideas of where people should be going to restaurants and where they should be not going. But I think it's opening up a little bit. I want to thank everybody for their cooperation. And I know some people were frustrated, but I think it was better for everybody that we did what we had to do. And I just want to thank everybody for sitting around and hanging in there.
Thanks, Tom. Dan?
Yeah, I'd like to say that it was really nice to see people sitting at tables again as you drove through town, and people, the restaurants were starting to come back online, and I just hope that, the safety remains a priority for everybody and that everything goes better and better as the summer progresses. And,
All right, Chuck?
Yeah.
You finished, Dan?
Yeah. Next.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Thanks.
I wanted to ask the mayor a question. There she is.
Yep. Hi. I can't see you though, Chuck.
I don't know why.
Yeah, because you've muted your camera, but that's all right. I can hear you. That's amazing.
Okay. My friend Janet was looking somewhere and saw an International Film Festival ad with the cars parked on Taylor Avenue Field. It was probably just a stock photo.
No, it was on Veterans Park and that really happened.
I think it's on sandpaper.
Okay, well, but they're not going to be parking their cars on Taylor Avenue Field.
No, it's done. It's over. It's all over. They did it on Veterans Field. It was big success. The there was no problems. Everybody behaved. The movies were pretty good. I went to two. The first one I didn't like so much. The last one I did. But it was very well attended, and it got a lot of recognition internationally. I mean, or nationally across the country. So it was very special, and I'm really happy Beach Haven was able to participate.
Okay, I mean, was 100% in favor of it. I just didn't. I was concerned that they were going to try and park cars on the grass.
Well, they did park cars on the grass at
We
Veterans.
ended up having to go over to Veterans Park where it was safer, where they didn't have, you know, the roads traversing around the whole thing. So it worked out better.
It worked out great. Yeah, it worked out
Okay.
great.
Well,
There was no problem.
Okay. That's my final thoughts. Thank you.
Jamie, you're back. You want to try again?
No, I don't want to waste anybody's time. Thank you for being patient. I should have been on my hotspot. I should know better.
That's
But,
okay.
thank you for coming.
Nancy, you want to finish up?
Yeah, I do want to finish up, and all I want to say is it is wonderful to see people out and about and see people at restaurants, but I do say proceed with caution. I think that we are going to have a second wave of this. I'm concerned that people are not being as careful as they should be, which is going to exacerbate the situation. I think if we're careful, we can keep this under control in our town and on this island. So I would strongly recommend that people go out and have a good time, but within the safety criteria that has been established by the professionals who know a heck of a lot more than the politicians about this virus. That's my comment.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Yay. Meeting adjourned.
Nice.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.